Hello everyone, welcome back. Let's have a little bit more practice on working with JSON file in Java. In this video, we're going to talk about handling missing or extra fields. Imagine a scenario like how do you handle a scenario where a JSON file or JSON contains extra fields or missing fields during serialization and deserialization. Imagine we have a user data. I have large user data.json. This is a JSON object. A user object contains a lot of data about a user. Imagine we want to read this data or information from an API or JSON file, but we are not interested in all information in this file. We want to have a POJO with certain amount of fields, not all of them. Say our POJO contains only user ID, username. We just want a first name, for example, email. We don't want the phone number, date of birth, or gender. And say our POJO has an address, and the address contains only street and city. We don't want to have the rest of the information. Profile picture URL, say we don't want. So there are a lot of information. We don't want to include that in our Java class or Java object. So let's go ahead and create a model or a class for deserializing this JSON information to our POJO. So I'm going to create a user class. So let's put these side by side so that we can take a look at our JSON file as well. So for user, say I want to have private and user ID, but in my POJO, I don't want to give the name as user ID. I just want to give it ID intentionally, so that the field in our POJO and the JSON have different names. And let's see what's going to happen. Then let's have a string username, private string username. I'm gonna give it camel kissing, not all lower letters like this. Then say we wanna read email, private string email. I'm gonna add the constructors, all arg constructor, no arg constructor, and data and builder also. So first, let's go to our main method. We're gonna first load the data from this file into a string. Let's read the information from this file, large user data.json. In the previous videos, we saw how to read the JSON data from a file and store it in a string. So we can use the files utility class dot read a string is going to accept a path. So we have paths dot get. We're gonna pass the URI or path of the object or the file. In this case, our file name is. Let's copy this here so that we don't want to make a mistake. Just want to copy it here, cancel, and paste it here. So this is going to throw an exception. I'm gonna add exception here, throws exception, and this will return a string. I'm gonna store it in a string variable, string, let's call it user data string equal to this one. So now we are going to deserialize this a string or JSON string. Let's just print it to make sure that we have successfully read the JSON information from the file. I want to print the string. So yeah, we could successfully read the user information from the JSON file. So now we are going to deserialize this information to our user model. But our user has few fields or missing fields in compared to our JSON. Let's see what's gonna happen. For that, we are going to use our object mapper. dot read values is going to accept a file. In this case, our file is user data string, and what we are going to map our this user data string to, we are going to map it to our user class, user dot class. So this is going to return a user, and let's print the user. User, or we can write the user information to a file also. Let's write or serialize this user back to a file using the object mapper. We can say object mapper dot write values. It takes a writer, but first we have to create a file to write to that file. Let's go file equal to new. This is going to be from java.io, file equal to new file, and the file name we are going to give it user.json. Let's print in this file, and what we are going to print, we are going to print this user or write this user to this JSON file. So let's run our project. Let's see what's gonna happen. We got an exception because there are a lot of missing information in our Pojo. So for that, JSON library provides another annotation that we can put in our class level, that is JSON ignore properties. JSON ignore properties, and here we say ignore unknown to true. So once we put this JSON properties, it's going to read whatever field that matches the JSON keys. It's going to read that, otherwise the rest of that it will not care about. So let's run our project now. See, ID is 0. It didn't read ID. Username is null because it didn't match the we didn't have a key called username or ID in our JSON file. Only email matched, and it read email from this large JSON. Yeah, email, exact same spelling. So in order to read this user data, what we can do is inside our Pojo, we can use at JSON property and pass the name of the property in our JSON file. JSON property. So there we had user, I think ID like this. Let's double check that. Yeah, we have user ID and username. Let's go to our Pojo, and here I'm gonna add JSON property, and the property name in our JSON is username. So let's go and check our JSON file. Yeah, here ID is 0, username is null, and email. So let's run our project again. Yeah, right now it read the ID, also it read the username and the email, ID, user ID, and username. So it's changing the order because we have to add JSON property here, JSON property, and property name is email. Yep, user data. Okay, yeah, user ID, username, and the JSON. Say our user has another object inside this, a nested object. Let's call it private address and address. So we have to create this address Pojo, create the address inside this model. For the address, we are interested in, let me put it here, address. We have street and we have city. So let's create two properties here. We don't want to read all the properties. Private string street and private string city. Again, I'm gonna use add the constructor, all arc constructor, no arc constructor, data, and builders, just in case if you want to use that. So they have the same name, so we don't have to use the add JSON property. Again, this address is this address object and the object in our JSON, they don't have the same number of properties. Here our Pojo misses a lot of properties, like it doesn't have the state, the postal code, or country. So what we're going to do, again, we are going to use the JSON ignore properties, and we are say here ignore unknown equal to true. So let's run our project. It prints our deserialized object. In address, we have an object. It read the street 123 Main Street, and the city is Seattle. Let's go check our file. In our user.json file, we also have address, and the address comes first because we haven't put, or we haven't mentioned the add JSON property. Let's go to our user, and here we're going to add JSON property, and there also it is address. The JSON, yeah. So we could successfully read only user ID, username, email, and addresses now. So let's see what's gonna happen. What happened here? Maybe we have put wrong spell here. Yep, it read the address, only the street and city. This way we can work with how to handle the missing fields while reading, serializing and deserializing Pojos to object, Pojos to JSON and JSON back to Pojos. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.